Okay, hi guys, how's it going? It's Pollywood here. Long time since an update. I wanted to talk today about just what I've been up to the last little bit, and the big thing I'm going to talk about today is the Last Dance documentary on ESPN. If you haven't heard about the Last Dance, it's the Bulls documentary and basically focusing on Michael Jordan and his career, and specifically the last year of their championship dynasty. So as you may or may not know, the Bulls won 6 championships in the 90s, starting in 91 and culminating the last one in 98. They took a 2-year gap there where they didn't win, coinciding with Jordan's first retirement. It's a 10-part docu-series. Each episode is about an hour, and it's really I was really blown away by how well done it was. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they would do anything half-assed on it. I think it was obviously going to be very well done, particularly if you're going to have the cooperation of Jordan to do it. And you get a lot of Jordan, you get a lot of Pippen, you get some Dennis Rodman, you get interviews with all the supporting cast, Phil Jackson, the coach. You even have players like Kobe Bryant chiming in, Reggie Miller, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Just the ensemble cast of basketball legendary is on full display in this documentary. So I really enjoyed it. I think it is one of the best documentaries to come out, sports documentaries to come out in a long time. I think it's right up there with ESPN's The Two Escobars. The ESPN executive produced this documentary as well. They've been doing the 30 for 30 series, and some of the 30 for 30 series, like The Two Escobars, have been riveting as well. The OJ Made in America documentary is another really good one. To me, The Last Dance ranks right up there with the best sports documentaries ever put together. And so, having said that, I'm going to just talk about my impressions about how people kind of come off in the series and why I think it's really good. One, I think Jordan comes across as human in this documentary. He doesn't come across as some god like many people kind of wanted to see him as in the prime of his career. The things he could do with the basketball were unbelievable. But in this documentary, he comes across as almost, in some ways, comes across as almost a bit of a bully. Definitely his drive to win, his passion to win, put him at odds with his teammates a lot of the time. And I think a lot of his teammates generally resented him for just how far he would push them on the court. Now you can argue that, hey, they won 6 championships and that's a good thing, his drive to win. But to me, it's kind of like the whiplash effect, right? Like how far are you gonna berate and demean your fellow teammates for success? It worked for Jordan, and to me, this documentary doesn't change my opinion of him as the greatest NBA player of all time, but it maybe slightly taints my perception of him as a person, but in a good way too, because I think some of the gloss that we got on him in the 90s needed to come off, because he just, he's a human being, right? We're all human beings, we all make mistakes, and in the documentary, he appears to own up to some of his mistakes and explains away the reasons why on some of his other times where he may have crossed the line with his teammates, and some of his teammates he was definitely a trash talker. You hear this on full display without any censoring, so bear in mind, probably an R for language in the documentary. There's plenty of the F word in here, not just from Jordan, but from many other members interviewed. One of the players I actually got a chuckle over was Dennis Rodman, and Dennis Rodman, of course, everybody had an opinion on Dennis Rodman at the time. Just an egocentric kind of guy, but this actually, I guess because I didn't have a high standing of Rodman going into this documentary, I just kind of took him as a grain of salt, and he's kind of like in a way, a bit of the clown of the team in the way he kind of conducted himself. And you need characters, and he was a character, and maybe you don't agree with everything you did, maybe you don't agree with his life choices, but I found him wildly entertaining in the times where he was on screen in interviews. and even the times, when they're going into the archival footage and digging out some of the stuff he was up to at the time. He was definitely a character. So the world has plenty of those, and Dennis Rodman was one of them. I didn't like the way Pippen came across. I think in some ways Pippen, it's hard to say, because I think the big difference between Pippen and Jordan is that Jordan was willing to give everything he got to win, and it seemed like in several points in this documentary that Pippen kind of checked out a little bit. He wasn't the guy that was going to give his all for the team. Now, in the last part of the series, in the last episode, he does end up playing in the final game 6 of the series, with a back injury. So I give him full credit for that. But there are other times where it was kind of like, I don't know, when Jordan's gone and there's a point where he kind of has a pout on the bench and doesn't go into the game, and that just felt very, very off. And I don't remember it at the time. So I don't know. I think Pippen was a great player. I think maybe he needed to be a little bit more held by the hand. I think maybe he was a little bit more emotionally vulnerable than Jordan. I think Jordan beat that emotion down with this insane competitive streak. Like, Jordan had to compete at everything, and I think maybe Pippen came across as a little bit more fragile. And then you have Phil Jackson, and Phil Jackson, I gained a lot of respect for him as a coach. One of my arguments would have been in the past is, Phil Jackson's a good coach, when he's coaching Jordan and Pippen and Rodman and that that supporting cast of players, and then he goes on and he coaches Kobe and Shaquille O'Neal. I think in watching this documentary, you understand just why he was such a good coach. Maybe it goes a little bit into his tactical method, and I think that played a role in it. But I think just the fact that he was able to manage so many different egos, he is able to keep Jordan in check. He was able to give Rodman just enough of a leash to keep him interested in the team. So I really think Phil Jackson came across well, in my opinion of him as a coach. Perhaps probably the greatest coach the NBA has ever seen. I think that's really changed my opinion of him. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think it's a great documentary. I highly recommend it. Bit of a spoiler warning. Some other things I really liked in the last episode, when the Bulls were on the bus after they had won the 6th championship, and Karl Malone comes on the bus. Karl Malone being forward for the Utah Jazz, who they had just beaten, and one of the stars in the NBA, and comes on the bus and personally congratulates every member of the Chicago Bulls team. I thought that was classy, and again, I always really liked Malone, and John Stockton's one of my favorite players of all time, who also played for the Jazz. I was kind of disappointed that Chicago won that series, because I was rooting for the Jazz in that series. But I thought it was really, really classy the way Karl Malone came on that bus and congratulated everybody. And so yeah, if you're a basketball fan, watch it. Just watch it. If you're not a basketball fan, watch it anyways. I think it's riveting. I would say probably, because it is a 10-episode series, what I did was I just watched an episode every night. I just wrapped it up tonight. And that's why I'm only commenting on it now, because I just finished watching the last episode. I didn't want to comment on anything before I saw the whole thing. Go see it. Maybe, again, watch one per night, and that'll give you something to enjoy when you come home. It makes it a lot more digestible. I think that's about it. Maybe you'll note that the documentary does bounce around a little bit. That's just kind of the narrative of the documentary, in that it focuses primarily on the last season of the dynasty, the 97-98 season, but in every episode they'll go back to the roots of Jordan, where he's at in his career to that point. So on one hand, you've got the subplot of the last season, and then you got another subplot of Jordan's career and the Bulls' career, or the Bulls' history up into that point. So first episode will be the beginning of the 97-98 season, juxtaposed with Jordan's early life, high school, college, to the point where he's coming into the NBA and just on the verge of becoming a superstar. And each episode progresses more and more along that lines as well. So very good. Again, highly recommend. Take care, guys. Enjoy it. Go watch it. And that's all I have to say. See you later. Bye. Hi, guys. To finish off, I'm going to do a magic trick. So on the count of 3, with the shake of my hands, 1, 2, 3, wonderful things are going to happen on this screen. 1, 2, 3. There you go. We got the boxes. So one side you got a link to one of my other videos, and on the other side you got the link to subscribe. Go check out some of my videos. Subscribe if you like. And that's about it. Take care. Bye.